In 1 week, 4 places across China erupted in succession. A school track collapsed in Hunan, students went on strike in Jiangsu, an elderly man in Qinhuangdao was detained, and a bank in Guangzhou forced employees to return holiday bonuses. From campuses to banks, from children to the elderly, society is splitting apart. The United Nations projects that by 2100 China's population could be cut in half. This isn't a coincidence, it's a system collapsing. Don't miss the next drop, subscribe and enable the bell. China is cracking open along multiple seams. In Hunan, a school sports field caved in overnight, fortunately no children were present. In Jiangsu, middle schoolers collectively went on strike and pushed the principal out. In Qinhuangdao, at a village entrance, an elderly man climbed onto a police car just to demand the return of expropriated collective assets. In Guangzhou, bank white-collar workers were forced to return 3 years of holiday subsidies, becoming pay-to-work employees. All of this happened in the same week. As playgrounds sink, the system covers up, and people shout, the UN has thrown out an even colder number. By the end of this century, China's population may shrink to just 633 million. A nation of 1.4 billion is slowly sinking beneath its own feet. This isn't coincidence, it's an alarm. Today, we're going to examine the truth behind this chain reaction, cave-in. Hunan school collapses at night, warning sign or lucky escape. Around 11 p.m. on October 17, a startling incident occurred at Zhejiang School in Shaoyang City, Hunan. The western perimeter wall and athletic field suddenly collapsed as a whole. The ground split open into a massive pit, the corner of a nearby classroom building shed concrete and exposed rebar. The scene was shocking. Fortunately, it was late at night and no one was on campus, so there were no casualties. But many parents exclaimed after seeing the video, if this had happened during the day, the consequences are unimaginable. After the accident, sharp-eyed internet users noticed clear retaining pile marks at the edge of the pit in on-site photos. What does that imply? Some questioned whether deep foundation work was underway nearby. Others alleged that the adjacent Wenmingjiayuan residential community was illegally excavating for an underground parking lot, and that Zhejiang School had repeatedly objected and asked for a halt long before this, but the contractor kept digging anyway. Comment sections erupted. The school warned this wasn't safe long ago. On October 18, the Shaoyang government WeChat account, Shaoyang Release, confirmed the perimeter wall and track collapse and damage to the western corner of the school building. No injuries were reported and the cause is under investigation. Public doubts and anger, however, are far from settled. On the day of the accident, police sealed off the school gate and surrounding roads. Meanwhile, large numbers of parents and Wenmingjiayuan homeowners gathered at the entrance, shouting, "Give our children their safety back," and "Investigate the developer," demanding a full probe and accountability. Residents say the distance between Zhejiang School and the Wenmingjiayuan complex is only about 50 meters. Since excavation for the underground garage began over a year ago, a massive pit has been dug on the estate. The collapsed section of the playground lies right next to the construction area. Many homeowners say they long suspected safety hazards and repeatedly reported them to authorities prior to the incident, to little effect. Only when the track truly collapsed did it draw attention. Although the final official cause hasn't been released, a common set of questions sits in parents' and residents' minds. Was this an unforeseeable accident, or a man-made disaster long ignored? And are children's safety concerns truly being taken seriously? The collapse damaged parts of the school's facilities and interrupted teaching. Facing a ravaged field and a cracked wall, parents are anxious. When students can safely return remains unknown. One cave-in may have destroyed not only a campus, but public confidence in oversight and governance. Hundreds of Jiangsu students strike for 2 days, pushing out the principal. The shocking track collapse in Shaoyang revealed severe oversight gaps around school-adjacent construction. In Suzhou, Jiangsu, students didn't just endure passively, they stood up to resist an unreasonable education reform, mounting an unprecedented campus protest that ultimately forced out the principal. Here's how they did it. On October 15 and 16, hundreds of grade 11 students at Tongbei Middle School in Tongshan District, Suzhou, staged protests and a collective class strike for 2 consecutive days, ultimately forcing the school to announce the dismissal of the principal and director of academics. The spark was a recently introduced education reform organization called Holistic Education. According to the official pitch, it would roll out an advanced pedagogy guided flow classrooms, co-learning, lead learning, etc., requiring students to sit in groups and teach one another. In practice, classes felt chaotic, teachers couldn't deliver normal lessons, and it all seemed performative, like checking a box for inspections. The issue wasn't only pedagogy. Students said the organization staff directly interfered with teachers' methods and even affected pay. Some homeroom teachers who resisted had wages docked, one teaching director was removed, inflaming faculty anger. What really lit the fuse was an episode on October 15. During an observation, the newly installed principal backed by the holistic education people publicly insulted students and teachers, and even said, "None of you will get into a four-year university." That line became the trigger. That afternoon, hundreds of grade 11 students walked out, gathered outside the principal's office, and chanted slogans. The action escalated. On October 16, students continued their strike and marched to Zhengji Middle School, the supervising school, chanting, "Refund our money," and "Kick holistic education out," demanding a full cleanup. Facing the two-day action, the administration relented on the evening of the 16th. They announced the removal of the principal and one academic director, and that the holistic education project would fully withdraw. The protest ended and students returned to class, but the uproar spread online, sparking a broader debate about the clash between education reform and student experience. Why would a reform ignite such intense resistance on campus? When education turns into a testing ground, are student voices truly heard? This incident is a reminder: education shouldn't be detached from students' real experience, reform shouldn't ignore people themselves. Qinhuangdao retirees' rights defense crushed, representatives detained, people are furious. In Zhangwukan, Haigang District, Qinhuangdao, Hebei, a months-long grassroots rights defense movement erupted this month. Over 400 retired workers began petitioning in July, accusing the village party secretary of selling off collective assets at low prices, leading to the loss of enterprises and land. For 3 years, workers have received no subsidy payments. This is not only economic loss but a livelihood crisis. Zhangwukan was once a well-known township enterprise base. Its Yanshan Industrial Company owned multiple assets, including a beer plant with 170 million yuan invested and the Yanshan Hotel. But during the tenure of former village secretary Li Liandi and his wife, Yang Xiaoyin, who served as company CFO, these assets were successively disposed of at low prices, large tracts of land and enterprises quietly changed hands, and villagers received nothing. Villager Lu Yuzhen, alias, said, "The enterprises were sold, the land's gone, we didn't get a cent, accounts were never public, we don't even know where the money went." Villager Zhang Fugue, alias, said, "Collective assets should be supervised by all, but we can't see any internal accounts, oversight is just window dressing." The village reportedly owes retirees about 20 million yuan in subsidies. Many retirees live on just 1,420 to 1,500 yuan in basic pensions, unable to afford medicine. Lu said, "Many are old, they're sick but don't dare go to the hospital, making do with cheap pills. Some widowed women don't even dare consider remarriage, they can only rely on their children. Men in better health take temp jobs as guards and night watchmen to scrape by." Peaceful protest met by special police crackdown. In mid-October, villagers organized a lawful, peaceful protest at the Haigang district government, intending to submit petitions and speak with officials. "We waited over 2 hours to talk face-to-face," Lu said. Then, suddenly, on a leader's order, special police moved in and arrested our representatives on the spot. The confrontation escalated, hundreds surrounded police vehicles, some climbed onto the cars in protest, chaos ensued. Police took away 4 representatives, only an elderly man with heart disease was released that night, 3 remain in detention. Zhang said, "We only want what's ours, but they use the security apparatus to crush us? That suggests something seriously wrong." Villagers also said that since July, not a single township or district leader has come to investigate or even offer sympathy. "They never planned to solve it," Lu said. "It felt prearranged." Worryingly, this isn't isolated. In June, villagers in Hanzhangzi, Qinglong County, Qinhuangdao, protested over allegedly illicit sales of collective land. The crackdown led to 7 arrests. Such cases are a social microcosm. When collective assets are siphoned off, retirees don't receive due subsidies, and public power refuses to listen but suppresses petitioners. The problem isn't one village, it's a system-wide corrosion of trust. It's not a single village's issue, it's the erosion of ordinary people's sense of security. Guangzhou Rural Commercial Bank orders staff to return 3 years of holiday bonuses, internet erupts. While villagers can't secure 3 years of subsidies, urban white-collar workers are suddenly being told to pay back money. Economic stress is spreading from the grassroots to the cities. Guangzhou Rural Commercial Bank told employees to repay nearly 3 years of holiday allowances. Yes, repay. Money already paid and spent must now be returned. The move blew up online. According to self-identified staff, the 2022 present holiday subsidies totaled roughly 14,000 yuan per person. The bank is demanding staged repayments, 2,500 yuan in the first installment, with the remainder deducted monthly from wages. Curiously, there's no red-stamped document and no written notice, just a cascade of verbal instructions passed down from branch managers. One employee put it bluntly, "They've quietly cut salaries several times, we sit through endless meetings, and now they're making us self-finance loans. Are we working, or underwriting the bank's survival?" The internet roasted the move. Is this pay to work? Guangzhou RCB, are your employees just ATMs? Others, recalling holiday pay is no different than cutting wages, should we get a lawyer to tally our overtime over 3 years? And, how does this boost domestic demand? How are frontline households supposed to consume? These aren't just emotions, they reflect deep anxiety over income instability. On October 19, Itsai asked the bank for comment. It replied, "This standardizes allowances to ensure compliance, most staff understand and support it." It sounds procedural, but netizens aren't buying it, using compliance to claw back previously paid benefits, without written notice, via word of mouth. Is that reasonable? Some note this differs from reverse wage recovery, which deducts performance or bonuses for violations or risk events under explicit policies. Here, the bank is clawing back benefits paid to everyone 3 years ago, less disciplinary sanction than a plug-the-hole tactic. This reflects a broader issue, under mounting economic pressure, who protects workers' basic income stability? When firms face risk, should they cut into staff, or repair the rules? UN's explosive forecast, China's population could have. The UN's latest report says China's population could plunge to 633 million by century's end, an advanced tremor of a global economic reshuffle, and a wake-up call. The UN's July release of world population prospects included a shocking projection. By 2100, China may drop from 1.4 billion to 633 million. Meaning, China would fall from 17% of the world's population to roughly 6.1%, becoming the only great power to shrink so dramatically. That's not just a national demographic crisis, it's an earthquake for the global economy. Labor force down by 200 million. Under the UN medium variant, if fertility edges up from 1.19, 2023, to 1.48, 2100, China still ends at 633 million. Reality looks worse. Official data put total fertility near 1.0 in 2023 and around 1.01 to 1.15 in 2024, barely above Korea among major economies. Experts say, unless China overhauls social welfare, housing, education, and healthcare, fertility won't rebound. In 1953, China's first census counted 582 million, with a crude growth rate near 20 per thousand. By 1982, the one-child policy slashed growth. Short-term stability hid long-term structural risks, dominance of one-child families, early aging, and labor force gaps, now erupting. 3 straight declines, population enters negative growth. 2022, 9.56 million births, 11.10 million deaths, net minus 1.54 million. 2023, 9.02 million births, 11.10 million deaths, net minus 2.08 million. 2024, births rebounded to 9.54 million, but total population still fell to 1.408 billion. 3 consecutive years of negative growth show the demographic problem isn't a trend line, it's reality. Why won't young people want or dare to have kids? In 3 words, too expensive. Education is hyper-competitive, school district housing is costly, cram schools were banned but tuition didn't fall. Healthcare is expensive, public registration is scarce, private clinics unaffordable. Housing strains 2 generations. Workplace return after childbirth is hard, discrimination persists. Smaller urban families face heavy eldercare burdens on single children. If you have one child, how do you afford a second? UN data, elders, 60 plus, are nearing 300 million, is almost equal to 21%. By 2050, seniors may exceed 400 million, the labor force could drop from 734 million to 530 million. That implies 2 workers supporting 1 elder and 1 child. The math doesn't work. Is 1.4 billion inflated? The 2022 Shanghai police database leak reportedly covered over 1 billion citizens with full records. Experts suggest it may reflect the true registry, not prettified official figures. Meaning China might already be below 1.4 billion, perhaps near 1 billion. If so, the UN's projection is conservative, the crisis is already here. Why this isn't only China's problem? China is both a population giant and a manufacturing hub. As its labor force shrinks, domestic demand weakens, and aging accelerates, the world will see supply chains re-engineered, capital reallocated to Southeast Asia/India, and global consumer markets reshuffled. This is not just China's anxiety, it's a global economic redeployment. China's demographic dividend is evaporating fast. Behind the numbers are couples afraid to have children, retirees scraping by, and ordinary people hidden beneath beautified data. The UN's numbers remind us, China's population is shrinking at an unprecedented speed. What do you think of this projection? Is China prepared for a rapid demographic decline? Share your thoughts in the comments.